Hello, good morning everyone. I hope you enjoyed the party last night and you got some sleep. I'd like to introduce Jan Lehnardt. He is the creator of CouchDB and one of the co-creators of Hoodie. He's about 10 years of web development experience, and he's going to talk about the responsible programmer. Enjoy the talk.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. I haven't done anything yet, and I get applause. That's pretty nice. I need to clarify this. I didn't invent CouchDB. I'm just the lead developer on it now, but somebody else way smarter than I am actually started it. So I didn't invent it. Sorry about that. My name is Jan. I'm an open source developer from Berlin. And as he said, I'm known from such movies as Apache CouchDB, the distributed database, or Hoodie, the stupid, simple front-end library that makes backends obsolete. But today I'm not going to talk about technology here. Before I start, I'd like to thank the front-end conf team for inviting me. I'm having a fantastic time in Zurich. They put me up in a nice hotel, got me over here. I'm getting to meet great people, and I appreciate that, so thank you very much. Especially, I want to thank Marcus, who put faith in me that I could deliver a keynote speech, which is always exciting. Who here in this room has seen Denise's talk yesterday? That was an awesome talk, wasn't it? That was so amazing. Jesus Christ. I wish I had given that talk, and then I didn't have to give my talk here because that was so good. She talked about, for those who didn't see it, about how creativity is our biggest asset, and our culture is not built around nurturing creativity, and how to fix that for yourself and for others. And it was just immensely inspiring. So good stuff there. My talk is called The Responsible Programmer. And I need to clarify this. Like, who here is a programmer? Oh, like the other way around. Who's not a programmer? All right, what do you do? Managing, good. And there was one more hand over here? Or you were writing documentation? Good. All right, so the people I'm trying to address are people who create stuff for others in a broader sense. That is programmers, designers, product managers, product designers, QA people, communications people, all these people who contribute to making a thing that contributes to have an impact somewhere. I chose the title to be a riff on a book called The Pragmatic Programmer. Who has read the book, The Pragmatic Programmer? Everybody else, get that book and read it. It's like, it's on the level of, I'm not using version control. Use version control, right? Read that book. It's that important. The Pragmatic Programmer is a book about, or it looks at software engineering from a perspective of a craft, of how to hone your skills to get better at a thing and learn from the collective wisdom of the group and contribute back to it once you've established your way in the world. And it's really, really, really good. Totally recommended. The Responsible Programmer now, this talk, I'm also looking at software engineering and programming or at building as a profession, but not from a perspective of hands-on doing stuff with it and getting better at it, but more from a social context, a socioeconomic context, and look how a programmer or a software engineer fits into our bigger cultural and historic context. So these are all big words that I'm really scared about, so just so you know. So that's my prelude, and before I start, I'll drink some more magic juice over here. If you haven't had that magic juice, I recommend that as well. Talk to me later about it. I'll put it here. So I want to start with a premise that probably, hopefully, gets you all listening and excited. Everybody in this room, you, and you, and me, we are all unicorns. Not physically, obviously, but we are, in a larger context, we're treated like a rare species that can perform magic, right? Talk to a person who's not like good with computers or not with computers at all, and show them what we can do with computers, and the only thing they can conclude is that we can do magic. Our job is the job. Well, it's not a job. It's a dream that people had for millennia. We, on a daily basis, perform the art of alchemy producing gold from nothing, or coffee and other magic juices, but we create immense value or impact with the work that we're doing. If you look at things like Wikipedia, Firefox, iOS, or the iPhone, like things that we as a group work on have a massive impact on our lives. They shape the world. It's incredible, right? Isn't it? It's really, really good. And through being treated really nicely and being able to, in the views of the others, being able to perform magic, and the stuff that we're doing having so much impact, we have an incredible opportunity to make this world better if we know how to. We can do things I'm at loss of words for it, like literally. I'm hard explaining how important the work is that we're doing and how much it affects people. Like everything it digitalized, software keeps eating the world. The world will be all run on software eventually. And it's on us to build that world. It's completely silly, that kind of responsibility that we have here. But we have an extreme opportunity to make a lot of stuff really good. So we should do that, I guess. So, because we're unicorns, because we do magic, we get treated by society as a rare breed, as I said, but the treatment is important. We get a lot of liberties and freedoms around our jobs and our lives. If you're a programmer or in the software business of some sort, you can work on whatever you want, wherever you want, whenever you want, and for how much money you want. Like, if you have constraints like family, you can just live where the family lives and be a software developer. If you have other constraints, you can optimize for them and still be a software developer. You can be a software developer in any configuration you want on the bloody planet. It's amazing, and I hope you all enjoy that. I do. Sorry. But being able to do all that, we're relying on a society that does jobs where people doing these jobs don't have all these freedoms. Like I walked over here from the hotel. There's the hotel staff who's fixed in that location. They can't be hotel staff somewhere else, or maybe they can't, but maybe they have to be here. That's one fixed constraint over there, so there's less liberty going on. The people who clean my room or make my breakfast, or the train driver who got me over here from Berlin, all these people, they have their jobs, they do their jobs, they don't have the freedoms that we have. They don't earn as much money as we do. They can't choose as many of the things they're working on. So we're kind of on top of the food chain in terms of what we can do with our lives. And that's a privileged position. And privilege is a really, really tough word to talk about, especially when you're trying to realize that you are in a privileged position, or when I realize that I'm in a privileged position. So let me talk about that a bit. Privilege is when you don't recognize that something in the world around you is broken. And then other people complain about something, maybe about their shitty job, and you're like, well, they should have paid more attention in school, or do their homework, and then they could have gotten a better job and they didn't have to complain, right? We have all equal chances here. In Western Europe, why you complain? Just work hard, you'll be fine. Well, maybe their parents didn't have enough money for childcare, and they had to look after their little siblings and didn't have time to play, to relax, or to study more. So they had a disadvantage in their lives that was no fault of their own. No fault of yours as well, but you are in the more privileged position in that case. And not immediately recognizing this privilege is, or this discrepancy is a form of privilege. So when I realized that I'm a white male in Germany, and looked around me and see, okay, what did I get for free? Like, I can, not exactly free, but free healthcare, free education, free world-class education. I'm bloody privileged. And then it was very painful for me to realize that, because I felt ashamed, really, really, really ashamed that somebody who did nothing wrong, like I thought I was doing nothing wrong, I was in a lesser position than I am. That was not the equality that they grew up to believe we have in our societies. And then, because it's painful to think about something that shames you, I stopped thinking about it, which is really cool. It's a cool thing to do. You just focus on other stuff, and then the shame pain goes away. It's really good. I learned later, though, that that is, again, a very privileged thing to do. I can ignore the effect of my privilege. Other people who are not in the privileged situation, they can't just ignore that they don't have any money or no power or whatever it is where they're disadvantaged. They can't just ignore that. They have to live with that. And I can just ignore that. I'm literally top of the food chain here. And you all are too. Sorry about that. So eventually that also dawned on me, and I realized I don't have to feel ashamed. Well, I realized privilege isn't inherently bad, right? If you think about it, it's not exactly my fault that I'm a white male in Europe. None of my choice or my actions made me the way I am physically, right? So it's not my fault. I don't have to be ashamed for it. But I think because society is set up in a way that puts me on top of the food chain, I need to use my privilege for good in order to make sure I don't actually have any negative balance on my karma bank account, I guess. Or that yeah, I don't know. I think I owe it to society that I do something good. So we're unicorn alchemists, like do magic, be treated really nicely. And we have this insane opportunity to shape the world in any form or shape that we want, because we do software and software is so important. And we're on top of the food chain of this whole thing. So I think through that whole process, or that scenario, that it is our duty to work on advancing humanity, because humanity advanced to the point where they can put us on top of the food chain. And I sure hope that the future isn't us on the food chain. It's like, I hope a better thing, a better version of what we have now is on top of the food chain for more people. And it's on us, the people on top, to create that. Yeah, it would be nice to think that I'm the end of evolution or social evolution, but no, it's hopefully not right. So we have this extremely unique opportunity. I keep repeating this. We have extremely unique opportunity, and possible, like, we can just go and do stuff, and it affects a whole lot of people. And we're in the right position to do that because we can use our privilege to do something. So the stuff that we do can be really, really important for a lot of people. So what can we do? Or in other words, this section is called What's Wrong with the World? And I have a list here. I can just go through this thing, and I think this is broken, this is broken, this is broken, this is broken. That's not the way we should think about this. I shouldn't give you a bucket list to work off. That's not how this works. You need to figure out what you think is wrong in the world, and then try to figure out how to address that. But I can give you some hints on how to figure out what's wrong in the world. There's this notion of being on the wrong side of history. It comes up when there's like bigger contentious issues of a certain time, say slavery, human rights, democracy, these kind of things. And then there's people who honestly argue it's good to have, say, slavery, or only men can vote, something like that. And then over time, history decides, well, that's not a good idea, and then they are on the wrong side of history. So if we look over the past couple centuries and millennia, can we see a trend? Can we see a pattern? Right, we're programmers. What's the pattern? What history decides on where to fall? Who's traditionally be put on the wrong side of history? Is there anything there? And I think there is. Maybe it's a bit of a naive point of view, but I think it holds true. The general pattern is that there's a small group of people that hold some form of power. Think the church a millennium ago had a monopoly on printing or creating books. So they had a monopoly not only on like writing stuff, but teaching stuff, culture, basically everything. It was that one stronghold where they can make the world the way the church wanted to be because they controlled communication. And then in whatever year Gutenberg came around and made a printing press, and suddenly a hell of a lot more people could communicate and share their ideas. And boy, are we better off for that. This was a really good distribution from a few people to a lot more people. And this tends to happen, giving a certain aspect of power or money to more people. That's what history tends to align with. So a way to try to think about this is like, look at our current society and then pretend we live 100 years from now, or 500 years from now, and look back now how we look back on the Middle Ages, and see, like, there's a bunch of things that were completely ridiculous, like burning witches. Not a good idea, turns out. Like, what's the burning witches equivalent of today that the people 100 or 500 years from now will laugh about? Like, how the fuck could they think that? I think it's an individual list of things, because of the way we were brought up, that we would address. But like, I'd like to share some of mine because, well, I'm on stage. This is my show. Let's see. So I'm going through like broad categories here. The one is the politics, everyone's favorite. And on paper, democracy is set up that, well, everyone, again, you are in power. Like first whatever declaration of any country's power distribution is, the people are in power, absolutely. And then we have representatives for these people who make political decisions on our behalf. But, well, I'm German, I'm 1/80 millionth of a power of Germany, but the power of Germany rests in me personally. That's what we as humanity agreed on, or as Germany agreed on. Power rests in me. And the people who run my city, my county, my country, and even in the EU, they represent me, right? They're not accountable to me, which I think maybe we should fix, but they represent me, and I'm in power, and you are all in power as well, and it's important to understand. And we're from Switzerland. You guys, with your direct voting stuff, that's amazing. I want that too. So if you're not from here, this hurts a little bit more. But then there's people who have lots of money and lots of power, and they influence politicians and get their way. That's not at all democracy. That's not what this world should look like. Like just yesterday, one of my favorite topics, Neelie Kroes from the EU Digital Strategy Office, a couple of weeks ago, she announced, well, we kill all roaming fees from mobile data usage and calls and stuff in the EU because that's a bad idea. And everybody was like, yeah, that's right, that's a bad idea. And now all the telcos tell them, well, we can't charge more than blood for the kilobyte anymore. That's bad for us. And she said, oh yeah, sorry, didn't see that. We're not going to do that. And I'm like, what? It doesn't make any sense. So now the bet is which of the telcos is going to hire her after she loses office. And yeah, that's not how politics should be run. So we should fix that. I think there's enough indicators for that being on the wrong side of history. We've got media in the broader sense as like democracy is set up to be, the legislative, the judicative, and the executive, and we have an unofficial fourth branch of the democracy, which is the journalism part, that looks critically at how politics are run and informs the general public about that. Well, the media today, and it doesn't matter if it's a newspaper or a website or blog or podcast, whatever the medium is, if it does good journalism, I don't care what the medium is. If in today's world, where we adopted like the US version of capitalism, these media outlets are governed by commercial interests and don't necessarily have to run a big profit, but they have to operate in a commercial world, so they have commercial interests, which are at odds with what they have to report about the democracy. So if a political party or a group on the government is empowered to cut a revenue source for a newspaper, the newspaper is probably not going to report whatever's going on in the government. But more importantly, the people who have power over the politicians that make all these decisions, what we wanted to fix earlier, right? They have the same economic power about our media distribution. So if they do something nasty with the government, then they pay the press or force the press to not report about that. And that's also not how this world is supposed to be run and how we're taught in schools how democracy is all great. But that's the reality. We need to fix that. And I know, it's like I'm a programmer. How do I fix politics? Can we start? But I'll get there. And culture. And the pattern is the same. People who have all the money pay creative people to tell us, to make stories for us in whatever form, in music or television or something, to tell us what the rich people want us to hear. Maybe work really hard because I benefit from you working hard. Or you need to have a house, a kid, and you need to be Christian because I benefit from you paying taxes to the church, or whatever. It's the same power distribution again, that we get told stories other people want us to hear instead of us figuring out what the stories really are. But I guess early on my musical interests, I went into the indie music scene and didn't give much about the mainstream. So I don't know. I think I had a gut instinct about what I wanted this to be. Finally, technology. The centralization of the web. That's not what the web is supposed to be. Something like Facebook was never meant to happen. Never, ever. It's so wrong. I don't know where to start. Like a single commercial entity having so much power over 1 billion people I can just laugh about it. Does anybody loves Facebook here? No, true. Like I love silly things, other silly things. I'm on Twitter, so it's the same stupid idea. Okay, nobody loves Facebook. That's good to hear. And there's reasons why the web is centralized, right? Because the people in the 90s were incentivized by money and freedoms given by being treated as unicorns to build infrastructure software that focuses on building centralized systems. People, like companies like AOL, paid the internet pioneers to build centralized services. But good old Tim Berners-Lee had a different vision in mind, and that is what the web wants to be, a fully distributed set of computers. Everybody's in control of what they are publishing, of their data, and their URLs, which is really important. But that's not the reality. So this is something we can actually do. Build infrastructure that allows us to build products and solutions and services on top of a distributed internet. And I'm so glad that finally people are starting to build that, because we kind of like, we were always annoyed, like technologists. I'm sure you were the same thing. It's like, yeah, somebody should do something about that. And then we don't do anything about it. But then the NSA spying scandal happened, and we're like, fuck it, this is it. We got to rethink this. It's like, I hope you're all with me here. It's like, this is ultimately bad, and it's not supposed to be, and we are the one group of people that can change that on the technology side. We also need to influence politics to make sure that shit never happens again. But we can actually build the software that makes it easy to circumvent all this bullshit. So this is something where we can actually work on. But if you, and don't get me started on an identity on the web. How can I prove that I'm an identity on the web? Maybe I'm multiple identities on the web. How does that work? What's the security implications? It's a mess for us, right? Like log in with Facebook and Twitter and who can read what and all that stuff. It's completely non-transparent, really hard to understand for us, let alone the general masses that use that should never know anything about that, where being a citizen on the web should be like being a citizen in a country. It's like, yeah, I'm just a person that do stuff, but I know what I'm giving away in terms of information voluntarily. We don't have that. It's also very broken. I'll take a step back here, not too far, because there's a wall. But if you think about solving a problem, it's like, we want to address this. And then you go in, like, okay, what can we do? Okay, we can do this to alleviate some immediate pain, so we'll start doing this, okay? Then we need to educate a bunch of people to do the right thing over here, okay, cool. And then you think about the bigger picture. Oh, how can we prevent that from ever happening again? It's like, okay, we got to teach the upcoming generation about the principles of why we think this is bad, so they will never come to the conclusion to do that later. And that's always the discussion flow. Some immediate remedy that you can do, but that not everybody agrees with, but maybe we can do it. But ultimately, it is about waiting for evolution, where the current generation should just die out and the new generation takes over. Sorry, that's how life works. It's a bit depressing, I know, because I'm just on my switch to the other side. But it's our duty then to educate our kids to make the right decisions for when they're in power. And not build the same shit that showed up when, like, the people, sadly, our parent generation fucked that up, but what can you do? So we come back to education, specifically educating the younger generations. So what can you do, aside from the technical stuff I just talked about? You can go into education. I'll just call it technical education. You don't have to teach school children maths or whatever. Oh, you can do maths, but whatever, other stuff. That's what teachers are for. Like, who here is a teacher? Like a few, cool. You can keep teaching. Sorry, I need a drink. So what can you do? The big question to do. So obviously, teaching kids, I talked about that. There has been over the past years, or they have started over the past years, a great number of initiatives where programmers, professionals would come in and volunteer time, an afternoon, a day, a weekend, to teach kids and other non-programmers to code. I'm not saying everybody should code in the way that everybody should be a programmer, but In the same way that not everybody should be an author or a writer, but you should know how to write, or you should know how to do math or calculate numbers, but you shouldn't necessarily understand the math behind it. So there's a thing called Rails Girls. We have an open tech school. There's a bunch of other initiatives, the Code Club, the Code Academy. Lots of stuff we're teaching is going on. And it is run by people like us who volunteer their time to make the next generation of people a better place. So that's something we can actively do, every one of us can do. I've done a bunch of JavaScript beginners workshops, and it's hard work. But when you get a bunch of people in and they come back at the end of the day, oh my God, I understand this now, I can now build my own stuff, and they have this sparkle in their eye, and you made that sparkle, that's the best thing in the world. No money can weigh up for that. It's so good. But we don't have to stop with kids. Why don't we go into the schools that our kids are at? Who here has kids? Few people. All right, teach them to code. It's your duty. But you can also go to your schools and set up a program where you can tell teachers about explaining identity on the web, what it means to have a Facebook or Snapchat account, and what implications that has for the teachers and for the students or for the kids, so they can be responsible adults or people on the internet. This is just basic stuff that isn't taught anywhere, that everybody needs to, like, oh fuck, I posted that picture of my whatever online, and now everybody can see that. And most people aren't aware that other people can see stuff that you put on the internet because computers are hard. So you can teach the teachers, basically. I complain about politics as well. Why don't we live in a culture where it's normal to talk to the people who represent you in your constituency on a, say, quarterly basis, and you just meet your EU representative and you have a coffee chat, half an hour. They should be able to make that. And then you chat and you try to understand them and the constraints that they're living within and the things that pull out, like the lobby work that pulls their attention to other stuff. And you can tell them a little bit of what you think the world should be, because they're they're representing your power. They should do what you say, and not only we elect them and then they do their own stuff. We can start opening a communication here. We should do that. And again, apologies to the Swiss people who have a way smarter system to deal with this. But the rest of the world is kind of stuck with other shit. So why don't you spend a Saturday afternoon every quarter to talk to your EU representative or your city representative? Why isn't that a thing? Why don't we have a culture in it? Why isn't that taught in programming schools? Like, you have an incredible skill to shape the future, but don't talk to the people who make the decisions. That's silly. So, and I'm in the university right now, right? Like, whoever works here, please get that going. And then why should we stop at anyone, right? Why don't I have a Saturday afternoon class where I teach my neighbors how to build a website? A bunch of people are doing that on the site, but why isn't there a culture to do that? Why don't we have our neighbors then teach us something else the next Saturday? Like, I don't know, wood chopping skills, whatever is interesting, whatever interests you, what you can do, why don't we share our experience? Why don't we help make this world a better place? So I know I mentioned spare time, free time, a Saturday here, an evening there, and you're saying, Jan, that's all nice, but I have a 40-hour job and a family and 2 kids, and I have no time. Sorry. Who's in that position? Be honest. It's fine. It's good. And that's wrong as well. It's not your fault, but we can fix that too. And here's my idea for that. Well, you'll like it. So here's my idea. Maybe I'm stupid and naive, but I want to try this. Who here runs a business, either for themselves or is employing other people? Right, a bunch of people. So what if you set up the business in a way that you only work 4 days a week. That was a bit of wishful thinking. 4 days a week, and then still pay people for 5 days a week, or pay yourself for 5 days a week. But then that one day you set aside to teach your Rails girls, or talk to your politicians, or work on something else, work on open source. I don't care. Something akin to Google's 20% time, which they, in the stupidest move ever, are now killing. But why don't we set up a business where it's all right to have 4-day work weeks and Fridays are off or Mondays are off or whatever, and then we do something that supports humanity? Why isn't that a thing? Imagine how much stuff we could get done if you get a full day every week, every programmer would do something useful. Holy shit, how much could we get done? And I don't think there's any economic reason for why we can do that. There's no reason, because we're treated so well and paid so well, that we need to work that extra day to make more profit. I think we can do that. So you should A, build these businesses, or you should ask your employer to put you in a position where they still pay you stuff, but you do useful stuff for society. And I know the general idea is that we all pay taxes, and that covers all the stuff we don't want to worry about, but I don't think that's going to cut it in our case. Like because we have so specialized knowledge of something that's so critically important, we need to get our hands dirty and do the work. We can't rely on like state-funded universities and other education systems to fix that fast enough. And because we're treated so well, it's our responsibility. So, in a Gandhi moment, I'm trying to be the change that I want to see in the world. I have 2 bets running on this. I'm in the process of building 2 companies. And the bet is we can create enough customer value on working 2 days a week in each company. And then we can all have an easy living, simple growth, can hire a bunch of friends and do awesome shit, and all the other time is encouraged to do something good. And sometimes doing something good just means enjoying life, because you need to recharge and do other stuff. So this isn't like keep you working hard, but putting life first, not putting work first. And why isn't that a culture? Why isn't it normal? Why do we have a 5-day work week? This bullshit idea is that. Why isn't it a 3-day work week or a 2-day work week? And then we do something useful the rest of the time, or stuff we like the rest of the time. Who would be worse off for that? So this is what I'm trying, but you need to figure out what works for you. Something else we can do to change in our culture, especially in the tech sector, is fuck startup bullshit. Getting venture capital for the next location-based service dogs own a social network on your iPhone? Fuck you for wasting people, time, attention, and all that shit that you could do something useful with. It's really, really annoying. And sorry for everyone who works at a bullshit startup. I've worked at them. But more importantly, this is a little bit of a rant, we need to end negativity. I know this is a really... So the startup thing was the nicest way I could say that thing. I really feel passionate about that. There's an incredible talk by the inventor of JSConf, Chris Williams, at the closing keynote of a JSConf EU a couple of years ago, called An End to Negativity. And he talks about a bit of the things that Denise talked about yesterday as well, is that ideas are fragile. And the software community is a very hostile place. Companies like Pixar have curated a culture where having an idea is... and sharing that idea is encouraged and nurtured. If you have a fragile idea, maybe we can do this, and then somebody tweets or Hacker News you a comment like, that's bullshit. That idea is dead, and nothing ever happens. And that's the standard, that's the default, that's the status quo, and it's so fucking sad. What it should be is like, here I have an idea. That's a great idea, but you should also consider these things. And suddenly this is a little bit stronger idea. That's a great idea, but, and you can do other stuff on top of that as well. And suddenly we have a really strong and mature idea over here that makes this world a better place, that helps us create better, products, services, whatever we do. Because we have a culture of yes and instead of And I'm as guilty as anyone of being snarky on Twitter or writing other silly things on the internet, but this needs to stop. Because even though this is an incredibly innovative space, we're lacking so much great stuff. Like imagine every company will have the creative success that Pixar has with every product they're doing. Like how much, why is there only, like, I don't know, I don't even know where to start with this one. There's so much great stuff that we're missing out on because we like to be cynics and snarky and free speech, I can say whatever I want. Like, fuck you. Sorry. If you're snarky on the internet, you're holding back humanity in a very fundamental way in the most important profession of our current lives. Be nice. For God's sake. So, okay, and the last thing that we can do, that we can actively do, because that will help us with everything else, is, and we get into privilege again a little bit, is increasing diversity. Most of the people in this room are white, male, middle Europeans. And we're a nice bunch. I know them pretty well because I'm one myself. But it is shown through so many studies that more diverse groups are better at creative tasks. So the more people get to have fragile ideas that we can build upon, that have other backgrounds and other contexts, the better we do as humanity. And as much as I like you all, as much as I like myself and my privileged position, we need to collectively work on getting this very important profession of our generation into a more diverse structure. And shout out to all the women in this room. It's really hard to be in this profession, so be strong. We're on your side. So, I want to close. So, we are unicorn alchemists. There are about 5 billion years in this solar system, in front and behind our lives. This is our one shot, very tiny shot, and we can make a difference. We have an exceptional opportunity to make this world a better place, and we're in a perfect position to lead that change. Now is the perfect time to start. Let's go. Thank you. Thanks. So this was a bit short on talk time. There's a little bit more time in this time slot, and I want to use that for homework, which I'm stealing from Denise as well. I'm serious, we're gonna spend the next 3 minutes with homework, and you are. I'd like you to think about ways you feel you are privileged, maybe in a way that you haven't thought about before. And maybe you have an idea, like you get a day off work to be here and hear me say stupid things, right? It's like other people just have to do their job 5 days a week. They can't go to a conference. Like maybe that's a privileged thing for you, but maybe something else. Maybe think about that for a bit, and then talk with someone about it. Like share your ideas, or like the things that you come up with. If you're sitting in a group of people that you know, talk to someone you don't know yet, so you get to meet new people. You've got 3 minutes. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay. Hello. All right, your 3 minutes are up. I suck as an entertainer, sorry. So I hope this was worthwhile. If I would like if any one of you, if anything I said resonated with any one of you, or if you had a good idea in this short discussion now, and you feel compelled to share this with the group, I would like to invite you to the stage. This is a very friendly group. And if you just want to say like a word, a sentence, it doesn't really matter. Like, it's really fine. And we're a really welcoming and friendly bunch. And if you have a really fragile idea, we'll nurture and cherish it, I promise. So if there's anything any one of you would like to come up and say in response to anything I said, or you came up with, or just want to share a story, whichever you want. We have a mic over here. Please come up. All right. Hi, what's your name?
Stefan.
Stefan, hi, I'm Jan. Good to meet you. Yours.
Hi, everybody. In my spare time, which there's a lot of due to my privileges, I work in an autonomous school, which has as its principles that we don't charge anybody for attendance, and anybody can offer courses they want. Basically, what the school organization does is just really make sure there is room. And this is really cool. The best thing about it is nobody is forced to attend, so you get people who are really interested in the stuff. So I can only recommend that. It's something you can do everywhere, you can do it locally. And to that end, because we're techies here, we're currently working here in Zurich on a project. It's called We don't have a better name yet. That's sort of what we ended up with. It's for organizing courses. So basically it's a web platform, or it's supposed to be a web platform where you log on and you say, oh, I would like to do this course. You make a short description and then people can sign up. Somebody can sign up. Oh, I could be a host to that. You could do it at my place. I could be a mentor. I know this stuff. Or you just say, oh, I would like to participate, or I would like to get news, whatever. So it's a really great project. We're basically at the moment, we're nowhere. We have some stuff that works. You can see what the idea is, but we don't know how to deal with stuff like spam, trolls, and all that stuff. That's just not in there yet. And we know if something like that, it has to be open. So it's going to be hard. And if you want to help, check out hmmm.schuel.ch. Schul, that means school in Swiss German. Right. So,
cool.
Yeah, please, or come chat to me.
Yeah, go talk to him. All right, thank you. Thanks. All right, we have a few more minutes. Is anyone else who wants to share a thought or an idea or a call to action? What else? All right. Cool. They're only dudes with long hair. It's a rule now. Yeah. Sorry.
Long hair as well, the wisdom is kept. So
no, it's the beard.
Yeah, and the beard. So yeah, many of you will probably see me talk later, but I can't possibly just keep my talking to my own session. So, but yeah, I'm Chris Mills, and I work for Mozilla. And a lot of what we try and do at Mozilla is kind of for the good of humanity anyway. So we have a few points there already. But what I was going to say is, in addition to that, I spend quite a lot of my spare time teaching beginners programming courses around Manchester, UK. And I've had a few ideas on this because some of this stuff I've done completely in my own time. I've even taken days of vacation off work to do this stuff because I think it's so important to get these easily transferable skills to try and give people better lives, whether it's just being able to feel digitally freed and being able to do stuff for yourself on computers and not being so afraid of breaking the damn thing. Because a lot of people are just so afraid of even touching it, otherwise it will blow up or, terrible things will happen. And it's this kind of barrier that you need to try and get people over in the first place. But that can go right up to giving people skills. You know, I'll get some people that will have left school at 15. I've even had kids that have been, you know, young offenders, have got into trouble with the law, you know, through bad decisions or having the wrong kind of friends. And they've come out of these things going, wow, I didn't realize that I could actually just do this stuff with no qualifications and paying no money with all of this free software. So that's very important. And then the last thought I had was, I can understand anybody that will sit there and say, you know, I'd like to do this, but I can't afford to spare this time just to do something totally for the sake of altruism. So why don't you get together with a few others that feel the same kind of way and organize an event that could combine some free teaching with some networking and some other stuff that would be useful to your business, you know, do it a half and half kind of way. So at least there'd be some sort of justification back to the business and some value in the total sort of monetary financial sense brought forward as well. So just a few more ideas. There we go.
Oh, thank you. All right, we're out of time for now, but if you still want to talk, I'll be around. Find me, I'll be here. I'm the one with the beard. So yeah, thanks a lot for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jan. We'll continue in about 10 minutes, so you have time to change the room. Thank you, guys.